Hey, what's happening, guys? I want to talk more about strategy in this play, and on this one, we're going to talk about trading with the MA lines. But first, if you appreciate what I'm doing, hit that like button and subscribe button, and go on over to Twitter at WTrades, DUBYA Trades. Alright, let's get into it. So I wanted to show you this on two recent trades that I've done that I used mostly the SMA or the EMA lines, and how I entered the trade, why I started looking at it, things like that. You should know that you should never just use one indicator to judge a play. It's best to kind of, throw the kitchen sink at it, everything in the kitchen sink at it. And the more indicators you have pointing toward a good trade, the better off you are. But on this one, we're mostly going to be talking about trading with EMA lines. That's the point I want to get across. It's the most common way I trade. I mean, I use trend lines and stuff like that to base resistance levels, support levels, things like that. But this is the most common way that I will start looking at a trade with EMA lines. So this first one, let's get into it. Lucid. So I started watching this one when it sold off here. Now Lucid is a pretty good stock, and I know the reason why it sold off was because that when they had the SPAC merger and the ticker changed from, I think it was CCIV or something like that, to LCID, when it changed, the original investors had to hold on to their stock for a certain amount of time before they could sell off, and that time hit, and some of them sold and got out. So I knew that this wouldn't stay down long. I just didn't know how low it could go. So I started watching it when it sold off to these levels, and it got all the way down to around 1528. So from there, I started watching the 15-minute charts. That's another thing too. The three most charts I look at is the 3-minute, the 15-minute, and the 4-hour. I look at those more than anything. The only time I ever look at anything else is maybe just to get a clear picture. Like I may look at the day chart to see how it's done over the year, how it's trading on a longer time scale, but I don't base my trade off of that. So I started looking at it at the 15 minutes. So if we go back here to when it sold off right here around the 1528, you can see that I really started getting interested in it when the price got up over this green 50-day EMA line. So now when I trade with EMA lines, the three main ones I'm looking at is the 15-day, which on my chart is this purple one. Let me find it here so I can let y'all see what it looks like here. Right there, you see that purple one right there? That's the 15-day. The green one is the 50-day, and the red one is the 200-day. So for this purpose, I'm going to turn off my MA lines or SMA lines, and we're just going to use the MA lines because the other ones are not important for this strategy. So it sold off and it popped back up over the 50-day. So what I'm looking for after that is for the 15-day EMA, the purple line, to cross over the 50-day. Once I see that, I'm interested. Okay, so I see it kind of flagged out and consolidated after that. Now what I'm looking for is a retest. Now on this one, as soon as I see a retest of the 15 or the 50, I'm going to buy in there. That's where I want to enter my trade. Now, if it crosses below the 50-day, again, that's when I got out. And on this trade, I did exactly that. I bought in here. When it crossed under, I got out. And I know you're saying, well, Doug, if you would have held, see, it went on up. But that's not what I'm getting at here. I had a point, I had a plan, I got out. So what did I do? I started looking for the next time it crossed. And it crossed here, and I got interested again. Now, This one didn't spike up like the last one did. And this kind of situation, it takes knowing it. You got to learn to trade this style. So see how that spiked up heavily, and over here it kind of spikes up a little bit, but the price stays close to it. So on this one, I use what they call it retests 3 times, so the 3 bounce on it. So it retested here once. So we're looking for a retest of the 15 or the 50, either one, it doesn't matter. So it retested 1, 2, 3. So right here I bought in with shares. There I'm interested. So I got shares in there, and it climbs and it stays bullish. Right here it crossed under. I wasn't ready to get out on this one. I'm already up quite a bit. So normally on this trade I would have got out right here at this 50. But I was up so well, and I'd heard about some news catalyst coming on. So I decided to hold, and I said, I'm going to make my get out point the 200. Now it would have been perfectly fine to get out here. I could have got back in when it crossed again, but I didn't. I held. So it hit the 200, it bounced. When I get this cross, I'm still holding my shares, so there's no point to buy back in. So what I did today is I ended up picking up calls. Again, it crossed over when it retest because it spiked up pretty good. I didn't go with the 3 bounces. I went for just a single retest. I bought in calls, and it rallied until the end of the day. Now, I had 3 calls. I ended up selling one near the end of the day and keep another 2. That one I sold ended up paying for 1.5 of my other calls. So I'm pretty much have got 2 calls for the price of a half of one. I'm pretty much covered from there. And I'm still holding my shares too. So let's see from where I got in, just on my shares now. From where I got in on this cross. So if we count that, it crossed up, we had 1, 2, 3, right there at that point. So if we take, there we go. If we take this little tool right here, we can see how much I've gained. So we see it crossed, and we hit the 1, 2, 3, right? Crossed 1, 2, 3, right there. Up to where it's at right now. That is a 21% gain. And my calls are up roughly about 60-some% right now. That's up a little bit higher when I sold the one, but roughly right now they're up around 60%. So guys, that's a good way to trade that stock with the EMA lines. We had the cross. If it ever crossed under the 50, we got out. Except for this one, I took a chance because on some news. Now, I would recommend, if you're new to this, get out on that 50-day. Wait until you've traded this way a while before you make decisions like that. I took a big risk here and risked a lot. If it would have broken out down there, let me do this again. 1, 2, 3. If it would have broken out there, I would have only got 8%. I mean, it still would have been a gain, but it's not what it would have been if I would have stayed in here at 15%. I ended up getting about half if it would have kept going on down. So let me show you one more stock that we've traded here recently to where I used this trade along with a few other things. This is CRVS. Let me change this on here so y'all can make sure you keep up. So this is CRVS. So if we look right here, we see we have the 15 purple crossing over the 50. And with this one, we're up above the 200 too already. So the price is up above the 200, which is bullish. And we have that 1550 cross. So on this one, I used the Fibonacci retracement. I went from top to bottom. This one is called the 50% pullback. Right? So if we're using Fibonacci, if you watch my other video, you know we go between 50% and 61. But this play is usually called the 50% pullback. And it doesn't have to be 50% exactly. Usually, if you don't have a Fibonacci, you just kind of guess, well, that's about 50%. You know, but if you have the Fibonacci, you can get it right between that 50 and 61. And it doesn't matter if it's the candle or the wick that reaches it. That's what we want to get. So once we see that, we look for the bounce back up. So now let's get rid of this. We know we have the 15 crosses over the 50. We know we have the 50% pullback. So now we're looking for the bounce. Here, it bounced with 3 good candles, actually 4, but 3 good candles. So we have the 1550 cross. We have the 50% bounce. And we have 3 soldiers, 3 green candles. That's a buy-in point. So I ended up buying in right around here. That morning, it was around, I think, 8:30ish or something like that. So let's do this. Now this one I did not hold overnight. I ended up selling. So right into the after hours, I sold somewhere on this big green candle here. I didn't even wait for it to pull back. Once I seen it spike up, I sold. Once I seen the green candle start moving back down. I didn't wait for a red candle. I didn't wait for a doji candle. Just as soon as I seen that green candle pulling back, I sold. So we can see on this one, I got right around 96% return. Yeah, I could have held, but you see that it never did get as high. But even if I did hold, and let's say I top ticked it after I held, that would have been 101%. Or let's say I held and I seen it going down in the morning, that would have still been 46%. Either way, guys, that's good. Let's say I held until it fell under the 50-day like we was talking about. That's 64%. So guys, the keys to this strategy is a cross of a 50 or 15 crosses the 50 EMA line. Then we look for a 50% bounce, or pullback, and then a bounce, and a buy-in. So you can see most of it's the same as the Lucid trade, except we use the 50% pullback. Guys, those 2 trades I use 80% of the time. And I will use other indicators like my MACD. You can see on this one, whenever it popped up, you can see the MACD spread. It's above the center line of the screen. You can see that it did get overbought, but on the pullback, it come underneath that 70 and still looked bullish. So guys, on this one, we had the RSI, we had the MACD, we had the EMA strategy, we had the Fib strategy. Every one of those connected for a trade. That is a perfect trade scenario right there. But I just wanted to put this video out there for y'all, give y'all a chance to see one of the trading styles that I like to use and that I use a lot. So this is something that you can try if you have any questions. Guys, you can message me on Twitter. You can message me on here. I'll try to get back to you. So any questions whatsoever, shoot them to me, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. So guys, again, if you appreciate what I'm doing, hit that like button, subscribe button, share it with your friends, and guys, let's grow this community. You have a great day. Bye.